Hello and welcome. Tonight we're speaking about sustainable agriculture. With me is Leah Atwood, the Program Director for MESA, the Multinational Exchange for Sustainable Agriculture. Leah, thank you for coming here.
Thank you.
It's
Happy
nice to have
be
you
here.
So please tell me all about MESA.
Well, it's a nonprofit organization. We were founded in 1994, and like you said, it's Multinational Exchange for Sustainable Agriculture. So basically we connect farmers and food activists across borders for hands-on training programs and sustainable food systems. It's very much based on the learn and share exchange, both in the practical techniques in ecological production and also in innovative marketing models. So we work mostly with countries from the global south and universities and NGOs who help us identify farmers and students who are reconnecting to the land and the food movement, who want to learn more about ecological production practices and oftentimes direct marketing models. And then we find training sites in the US. Oftentimes they're production farms, but also there can be education centers and different organizations and companies in the sustainable supply chain. So sometimes focused on distribution, sometimes on processing and value added. So we're basically matching up the farmers and the students from the countries in the global south and the training centers in the US. So MESA is kind of the link who makes the exchanges and the training programs happen.
You just had a week-long training session?
So we just finished a week-long seminar for the incoming farmers, and we call the international farmers stewards. And so we just finished a week-long orientation welcoming them for their programs. The training program usually lasts about 7.5 months over the growing season. And so we welcome them for a week at a farm in Los Altos Hills. It's called Hidden Villa. It's a great, amazing place, and it's open to the public. Anyone can check it out. They have a CSA farm. It's a community-supported agriculture model. And they also have an education center. They have a really amazing demonstration garden for kids. And then they have, I think, like 2,000 acres of wilderness preserve.
Wow.
So it's a perfect site to welcome everyone. We have lots of group bonding activities, a lot of hands-on exercises in the field. We have a lot of guest speakers that come out and talk about different things about sustainable food systems.
How many people did you have at that?
This year we had smaller than usual. We had 19 stewards. Usually the average cohort is about more 30 to 40.
And what countries were they from?
This year from 6 different countries, from Ecuador, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Peru, and Georgia, the Republic of Georgia.
Now where will they go after the week's over?
So everyone departed on last Friday to their host training sites, and basically it's spread all across the country. We try and create kind of regional hubs. It's really good for networking for them. So finding farms and training sites that are in close proximity to each other. So we have, if you look at, organic and ecological farms, they're higher density on the West Coast and East Coast. So we have a lot of farms that are situated there. And then some that are distributed throughout the US, in Michigan and Arkansas and Colorado and Hawaii, Florida, yeah.
Now what's the nuts and bolts of the program? What will they learn?
So it really depends on the farm and the training site, and it also depends on what their learning objectives are. So part of the matchmaking process is both sides fill out an application and a training plan on the host side. So the steward fills out basically what their background is and experience, and then what some of their desired training objectives are, so what they're looking for to learn. And then the host fills out information about what their farm or entity is focused on. So that we have programs that are focused on biointensive agriculture, biodynamic, permaculture, ones that are focused more on animal husbandry, ones that are focused on like goat dairy or cow dairy, and then the value-added part of cheese making or yogurt making. We have ones, not this year, but in the past, organic flour production, livestock. So it's really pretty broad.
And what is the scale of the size of the operations in the U.S. that you work with, from small to large?
Yeah, pretty small scale. I would say the average acreage is about 8 acres. We have some that are more like 2. That's probably the smallest. And then one that was 200 acres, but a lot of that was field crops. So it varies as well, but average is probably like 5 to 15.
How many of them are certified organic?
Let's see, this year probably about half, maybe a little over half. So it really depends on who they're marketing to and how much that certification matters to their customers. So if their customers are connected to the farm in a way that they already have buy-in and they believe in the practices and that they don't need a certification label to tell them that they want to support the farm, then the farm usually decides that it's not worth the extra hassle and the cost of certification.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see in my eggs that they're no antibiotics and they're cage-free and many things, but somehow they're not organic. So
yeah,
it seems like it can be very tricky.
It can be. I mean, that means they probably weren't fed organic grain.
Ah, I see. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get into this?
So I studied at UC Berkeley and focused on natural resource management, but I took a lot of classes in sustainable international development, and I minored in Spanish. So I had interest in, and I've always had an interest in food and how we're connected to our food and how food connects us to each other. And so I studied abroad in Costa Rica. I think that was in 2002, and I worked at an organic farm there. And that was my first really hands-on experience in a production setting. I grew up on more of a ranch setting in Humboldt County with horses and chickens and a garden, but definitely not production in any sense of the word. And then after university, I started at another nonprofit that was focused on more water pollution in the Bengal Basin, looking at water pollution mitigation, specifically around lead and arsenic. And that introduced me to the nonprofit sector. And then the next year, I found Mesa. And so that was my trajectory.
And that was in what year?
In 2004 is when I found Mesa.
Now, Mesa's been around for a while now.
Yeah, so the executive director, Lauren Augusta, actually founded the organization in 1994. And she was basically running it all by herself. And she had some help with interns, but I was the first hired employee. And so we've been growing slowly.
You have 4 people now.
Yes.
So a very small, tight organization.
Yes, it's a great team.
How are you funded? Where's your funding come from?
It's a diverse funding model. We're trying to make it more diverse, but part of it is fee for service. So, and then part of it is grants from public and private grants. So, part in the past was through the USDA, and then through a couple smaller private family foundations, the Foundation for Sustainability and Innovation, and then Patagonia is another one that's given a lot of support over the years. And then individual donors is something that we're also trying to cultivate a stronger base in.
I clicked the donations link on your website and it didn't operate today, so I'm going to work on that.
Thank you. We are actually updating our website right now, so.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so hopefully that was the reason.
Yeah, I certainly have my glitches on my websites.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to apprehend.
There's a mention on the site of the Byzantine, I guess it was called Kafkaesque procedure for getting a J1
Yes. So that's another part of MESA's designation. So how it works on a more logistical level is we are designated by the Federal Department of State as a J1 training and cultural exchange program. And J1 is a type of visa. So that means that we are allowed to bring in exchange visitors for the purpose of training and cross-cultural exchange. And
so it gets rid of all the visa hassles. And wonderful.
Yes, and it changes every year. State Department has new rules, and so it can be challenging. But yeah, our designation is in agriculture, and we have a focus on ecological production.
So what are the goals for the future?
Lots of goals for the future. We're trying to grow and trying to diversify our funding. We're trying to create some new programs that are more specific in terms of the training objectives, like what you were asking about previously. One of those programs is focused on developing seed sovereignty and training in a technique called participatory plant breeding. So basically helping farmers have develop habituated seeds that are adapted to their local environment. So part of the problem right now in sustainable agriculture is the lack of access to organic seeds, and that a lot of the genetic diversity and the genetic resources of seeds are concentrated.
Are you fighting Monsanto and
yes, I mean directly, no, but definitely the kind of training.
That's the model that is getting promulgated around the world.
Yes, and so it's problematic that when farmers aren't able to save their seeds, which is some of what the Monsanto technology is creating, that seeds aren't able to germinate. It makes farmers dependent on external sources to get their seeds, and whenever you have that situation, it's very risky. And so that's one program that we're working on developing is creating training programs between specifically farmers from the mountainous regions, and we're looking at the Himalayas and the Andes and the North American Cordillera. And so when you have high altitude areas, there's like a natural diversity in crops because you have seeds that will stay in certain areas, and there's a lot of diversity in the soil makeup, and it's just physically harder for hybrid seeds to contaminate. It's a natural barrier, a natural refuge when you have that that altitude differentiation. And you have so many microclimates that seeds will adapt to those microclimates, so you just have more resilience and more diversity. So we're looking at training farmers and helping farmers connect with plant breeders and having exchanges between those regions to further that agrobiodiversity. So that's one program we're developing. We're also developing a reciprocal training program. So, I didn't really say much about MESA's mission, but overall our mission is to try and support existing small-scale farmers and a new generation of agrarian leaders by linking innovations in sustainable agriculture with ancestral knowledge and trying to promote land stewardship and localized economies and cultural awareness. And like I was saying, in the past, the program was focused on bringing farmers and food activists to the U.S. through the J1 program. But we're also starting, and we did this more informally before, but now we're setting up a formal program to send American beginning farmers and students to work with our alumni communities and get a certificate of international training in agroecology. So we're developing an online curriculum that would go into conjunction with the hands-on
So you can
training.
actually award these certificates?
Yeah, so we're exploring accreditation with some city colleges and universities, and we just finished our pilot program for that last year. We sent 3 women to Cusco and to Lima, where we have little hubs of alumni, and it was really great, and it really fulfills Mesa's mission of reciprocity and the learn and share exchange both ways, and gives our Steward alumni the chance to reciprocate and be the trainers. So it's really exciting.
Seems like a growing network of knowledge.
We hope so, yeah. I mean, we really think that is a big part of what we're doing, is expanding the global network of sustainable food activists. And I think that's really what it's going to take in order for this movement to succeed, is building that from the ground up, grassroots.
Do you have any thoughts about moving more also toward urban farming and very small farms? And more people are interested in growing some portion of their food.
Yes, yeah. So urban, we do have some farms that are more on the urban fringe, and we're definitely interested in creating more partnerships with organizations and entities that are producing food in urban areas. It's definitely something that a lot of our stewards and applicants are interested in. And yeah, there's a lot of great organizations in the Bay Area doing that, like Planting Justice and City Slickers, and yeah, it goes on and on.
Right. So you aren't the only ones here in the Bay Area as far as that goes with the urban agriculture.
No. And we're not. I mean, Mesa right actually now doesn't have a farm site ourselves. I think most of us have gardens and chickens and bees that we care about, but we don't. It's actually part of my dream, and something I'm working on is starting an urban farm in the Bay Area, and so it's a collaboration between myself and 5 other individuals. The organization I just mentioned, Planting Justice, is there's a lot of people representing them, and so we're trying to create a urban farm in El Sobrante on 10 acres, and creating a local food shed focused on permaculture practices mostly, maybe demonstrating some practices in aquaponics and maybe biointensive, but creating a food forest for the East Bay, because there's nothing really that exists on that size right now, and hopefully having it become a Mesa host for international and for local aspiring farmers.
A food forest.
Food forest, yes.
That's a nice vision.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's really what agroecology is based on, is how do you preserve the natural environment while also creating a sustainable supply of food for the coexistence of humans and the wilderness.
So the average viewer who likes what they're hearing and what you're saying, and they want to support you, but perhaps they live in an urban environment, or they don't have access to a farm. What can they do?
That's a great question. Well, if they know any farms that are interested in the model of supporting the next generation of farmers on a global scale, then we're always looking for new great hosts who are interested in mentoring, and we also ask that hosts provide room and board, and monthly program fees that help provide for all the services that we provide. So that includes the coverage of the visa, coordinating, and then we provide medical insurance and educational curriculum and seminars and a monthly stipend, and we do take care of all of the domestic travel while they're here.
So the host provides room and board only?
And those monthly program fees that help cover those costs.
And how much are they?
So it's a sliding scale, because we offer grants to help cover and help allow farms that don't have a lot of financial resources. But the sustainable amount to cover all the program benefits is about $1,085
per month.
Per month, exactly. And then we do a lot of the fund development to allow farms to receive grants so that they can do projects on their farm that help with the collaborative communication between the host and the steward, and something that will contribute to the steward's learning objectives while also adding value to the farm.
Adding value by labor with a They would receive the benefit of that person's labor?
So the steward is definitely participating in all aspects of the farm in accordance with their training plan. So yeah, are adding productivity. But these projects are more the grants that we offer to create the sliding scale for the program fees is a project that could be adding value to the farm or sustainability to the farm. Examples have been like chicken tractors and apiculture or bees, vermicompost, like worm casting, composting systems, microbial brews, like lactobacillus, soil fertilizers that you can use from like local ingredients on the farm.
So it sounds like you're sort of accumulating best practices and spreading that around to the...
Yeah.
Which must be very tricky, of course, because every situation is so locally oriented and so different that you can't really have one size fits all for anything. But you can, in general, accumulate, I would imagine, some best practices and help spread that around. Yeah,
and a lot of that is focused on just the mentorship process. So how do you teach someone about what it is that you're doing and what's working and what's not working, and how do you pass on that knowledge? And farming is not something that you can learn in a book. You really have to do it and gain that hands-on experience. And so it's valuable to do things that are, if you're looking to farm, doing things in an area that's geographically similar and climate similar. But it's also about just going through the critical thinking process of when you come across challenges, how do you deal with them, and having experience for a full season of addressing those.
So there's no book in the works?
No, not yet, no. But it's that's another huge can of worms, but right now internships on farms are not legal unless they're paid or unless they're connected to an academic institution where there's a lot of classroom time. And there's a lot of models in the works that are trying to figure out how to overcome that. Because right now, the average age of our U.S. farmer is, guess, what do you think?
Getting older and older, I imagine.
Yes, getting older, not getting any younger.
55.
Very close.
Something around the average stereophonic magazine subscriber.
I think the last U.S. census.
54 and a half.
Yeah, it's really close. I think the last U.S. The census was 57, but I actually think it might be getting lower because there is a youth movement getting involved in.
You read about it all the time. Mm-hmm. Portland and around Oregon.
Mm-hmm. Everywhere.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, Leah Atwood, thank you so much for coming here and sharing all this with us.
Thank you.
Sounds like Mesa's doing wonderful work.
Thank you so much. And you had asked about how other people can get involved.
I did.
So we also have events about twice a year when we welcome the stewards, which just happened, and then also in November for their exit seminar. We have a big cultural cuisine celebration, usually in San Francisco, and they give presentations about what they learned.
So you can come check it out and see if you like it. And
our website's www.mesaprogram.org.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, Leah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
All right,
Tom.
it's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right. And thank you for joining us. Good night.